11th hour of the last day of this session. It was a bill that only legalized, I can't speak yet this morning, give me a minute. It was a bill that only legalized cannabidiol or CBD. We know that that's not the whole plant medicine and that patients really need that, but that's not the point. The point is this. We got the Georgia legislature to nearly unanimously agree that some form of marijuana has medical value. It's not whole plant medical marijuana yet, but now they're talking about it with us. And when we're talking about it, we're winning.
Yeah, hotels, parking.
I remember some of you when we were rallying at the steps of the Capitol just a few years ago. Look around, you'll probably recognize some people that were there.
Did you pass the quad?
Remember some of those legislators, some of those security people who were pointing at us and laughing and calling us the potheads? Now those security people greet us by name as we go in, and we go to meet with our senators and representatives to talk about our issue. And when we're talking about it, we're winning.
No doubt about it.
Remember just a few years ago when they said we were crazy to even bring up legalization in a place like Georgia? Now we're talking to legislators who understand how prohibition is endangering our children and breaking up our families. We have elected officials who are beginning to talk with us about decriminalizing marijuana. And when we're talking about it, we're winning. Let me tell you about how we've already won. This session, the Georgia legislature passed a bill called the 911 Good Samaritan Law.
Yes.
I want to call out somebody, Jeremy Sharp, if you're in here, stand up. No, he's right up here. He led the fight on this Good Samaritan Law, and they brought about a new law that is going to protect some of our children and parents and family members in this country. SSDP did a heroic job getting this bill through the State House. Thank you so much, Jeremy. This law means that when somebody witnesses an overdose, whether it is from alcohol or drugs, legal or illegal, underage or not, that person can call 911 to get emergency help and won't be punished for the possession or underage use of alcohol or drugs. We talked about it and we convinced our legislators it would save lives, and we won. And we can win not just medical marijuana, we can win not just decriminalization, we can win the legalization of marijuana for adults in the state of Georgia. Georgia's legislature may not be into legalization yet, but that train's a-coming. More and more in Georgia are beginning to realize that marijuana prohibition is a failed policy that we can no longer afford. Rich or poor, old or young, white or black, male or female, anybody who really wants to smoke or grow or buy or sell marijuana can. But more and more people in Georgia can see that it's mostly poor, mostly young, mostly black, and mostly males who get busted for marijuana. Young lives shattered are kids. Is that right? Okay. Young lives shattered are kids, not their kids, not bad kids, our kids. Good people branded as criminals for no good reason. Good families losing their fathers or big brothers or sons to jail time. Good communities feed into a cycle of cops and courts and jails and rehabs and probation officers and drug testing labs who could all be working to solve real crimes and serious addictions. The people of Georgia are waking up, and we are not going to take this kind of cruelty. We're not going to take this kind of government waste. We're not fools, and we know that marijuana and the people who use it are never going away. Cannabis has been used by people as food, fuel, fiber, medicine, and fun for over 9,000 years. Obviously, there are not enough police in the world to wipe out the weed. If there were, I'd lobby for a law to make crabgrass illegal and then watch the sheriffs come pull it out of my lawn. Now I wish that the world was a perfect place where simple recognition of these facts would change things. I wish the folks in the Gold Dome would just help us legalize marijuana because it was the right thing to do. But have you ever heard the saying, money makes the world go round? How about money talks? And, well, you know the walks. Just this week, we were at a meet and greet with some of the movers and shakers in Republican politics. We were talking to one fellow about, he couldn't stop talking about the tax money Colorado made in just 1 month of legal marijuana sales. He said, that's your ticket with most of these guys. You've got to emphasize the economics of this thing. We don't care what reason they need to talk about marijuana legalization, just so long as they're talking about it. Because if we're talking about it, we're winning. If we're talking about it, we're winning. If we're talking about it, we're winning. Thank you all so very much for supporting the 2nd annual Southern Cannabis Reform Conference. We've got some amazing speakers and panels who will be talking about it today. Take what you learn and talk about it with your friends, family, and coworkers. Talk about it on social networks too. Our hashtag today is SoCanCon for Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Please spread the word. Thank you again. Enjoy your day and have a great Saturday. Legalize marijuana. Vincent.
Good morning.
Morning.
Free the weed.
Free the weed.
Free the weed. Free the weed. Thank you all again for coming to the 2nd annual Southern Cannabis Reform Conference. Big round of applause for Sharon. My name is Vincent Cheeks, and I am the Arts and Entertainment Liaison for Peachtree Normal. I started out as a volunteer and recently became a member. Today, our first panel, the topic will be the Activist Corner, an introduction to marijuana and how you can get involved in your community. Over the past 5 years, we've seen a big change in perception of how people view marijuana. Almost half the states have enacted some type of reform for marijuana laws. Even over in Italy, they just repealed their harsh marijuana laws, and they're set to release potentially 10,000 prisoners from their overcrowded jail due to marijuana. And even the most recent Gallup poll shows that 58% of Americans think that marijuana should be legalized. So, today we're going to discuss marijuana and how we can get involved in our community. On our panel, we have Sharon Ravert, the director of Peachtree Normal and Moms for Marijuana. We have Jeremy Sharp, who is the founder of Students for Sensible Drug Policy at the University of North Georgia. And we also have James Bell, who is the director of Georgia Care, the Campaign for Access, Reform, and Education. Big round of applause for our panel. Sharon, I'll start with you. Okay, I'll give you that. Everybody directly. James, I'll start with you. Given the statistics that I just stated, why do you think there's still such a heavy reluctance by the federal government to legalize marijuana?
Well, you know, after decades and decades of this policy of war on drugs, it's kind of hard to change from that. Certainly, there's a lot of legislation pending on the federal level. We actually have lobbyists and activists working Washington, D.C. You know, Washington, the city, the district of Washington, D.C. just decriminalized. So things are changing in this country slowly, one state, one district, one area at a time. Sometimes cities are changing the law. So, you know, sometimes you got to sidestep the federal government and let the states do what they need to do, and that's to run their own business and determine what is crime and what is not crime. So, you know, I'm not sure that the federal government's that important at this point when we already have 20 states with some medical law, multiple states considering decriminalization, legalization in some form. So one state, one area at a time is going to change. The federal government will just be left behind here, and I'll give it some form of nullification of federal law. So at some point, hopefully, the feds will realize that the states are not going to play the game with them, and they're going to change their laws, and we're going to have a little more freedom in this country.
Thank you, James. Now, Jeremy, for you, why do you think the federal government is so reluctant to legalize marijuana?
I believe it's because we cannot patent marijuana. It's really hard to make money on it. Well, it's not hard to make money on it, but for a company to come in and be registered and have all the things, they can't hold a patent on it. Also, you've got a whole industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, set up and operating, making billions and billions of dollars off of arresting and prosecuting marijuana convictions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Sharon Ravert, why do you think the federal government is reluctant to legalize marijuana, given the shift in perception?
Without the things they just said, I would say they're ignorant and they're mean. And at this point, like James had mentioned, we only have 2 actual full-time lobbyists working on this issue in Washington, D.C. One of them is Howard Woolridge. He is a lead speaker, law enforcement against prohibition. And then there's an MPP. Of course, Normal and MPP and DTA are in the area. Normal actually has a office on K Street where the lobbyists are. And honestly, they weren't even asked to come to speak. They've been there for 40 years. And last year and this year are the first years that they've actually been taken serious. So in general, the whole world is changing, not just the United States. And that, I think, is what's going to push the federal government's hands. Not just the states here and what we're doing, but places like Uruguay that are decriminalizing and legalizing all drugs. And when they see that that is a helpful way to do things in their country, I'm hoping that a lot of the people like Vincente Fox and the people in Canada, Mexico, these other places are going to force the federal government's hands eventually.
Thank you, Sharon. Question number 2 for the panel. Jeremy, I'll start with you this time. Again, given the shift in perception, what do you think should be the next stage in our fight to end marijuana prohibition? And how can we get more of the closeted marijuana smokers into the fight with us?
I think the next stage in Georgia would definitely be decrim, as well as getting medical patients out to lobby for medical marijuana. I think all-out legalization in Georgia is a distant idea, but we do need to focus on small steps like decrim and medical here in Georgia. I think to get people out, we have to stand up and let them know it's okay for them to stand up for their views. I've heard Sharon say we need people to stand beside us. The more people we have standing beside us, the more seen in documentaries by Sanjay Gupta, the more polls. We need to make people feel comfortable, whether it's on Facebook or whatever. Support your views. Let other people know that this is how you feel and it's okay to feel that way, because there still is some animosity or a stigmata as being a marijuana activist. People in the South do view us as people that just want to legalize drugs and get high and suffer no consequences. In reality, we want to end the war on drugs. We want to stop all these arrests. So it's on us, the people that are here, to encourage other people to stand up and fight us.
Thank you, Jerry. James?
Question was, what's next?
Yes, what is the next stage, and how can we get more people to join the fight with us?
Yeah, it's one thing to get cannabis consumers to come together and get busy and do something. It's another thing to go out and get people who simply support freedom and liberty in this country. There's a lot of people out there who don't use marijuana that support us also. And I think the next step is to continue building on the success that we've had, and that is building relationships and rapport with our lawmakers and continually to let them know that we're there. I mean, when Sharon did her press conference and there were 75 to 100 people standing behind her on the steps of the Capitol, that was a powerful message to our lawmakers, and it was really incredible seeing that. So this is what we need more of. You're a part of this. You're here today. You're part of this movement, and we just need your help to continue what we're doing. People from all over the states are becoming involved. Activists in Savannah and Waycross and LJ, Augusta, and I'm sure you guys are probably from all those states, some of you from various other states. So we just need your help and continue doing what we're doing. Keep pushing.
Thank you, James. Sharon, what do you believe?
One other thing, we need a couple millionaires to come forward and help fund some of these projects.
Please, if anyone knows any millionaires out there, willing to back this, and what we're fighting for, please let us know. Okay, Sharon, what do you think should be the next step towards legalization, and how can we get more people involved in the fight to end prohibition?
What we've been doing so far is reaching out and educating the public. We've done a pretty good job on that, and we need to continue doing that. This past couple of years, we've also been educating our legislators, which is a huge part of it, because they're the ones that are going to be able to make the change. At this point, I see us having to reach out to our local law enforcement, our local teachers, the people that see the school to prison pipeline, your counselors in the area. And we're gonna have to work each other, we're gonna have to have at least one or two people in each county. That's all we really need, to step up and go talk to their local officials. We have to focus mainly at the Capitol, because obviously we can't go out and see 200 representatives in each of their areas. But the work that needs to be done from now until next year is the local level stuff, talking to your representatives, but not only them, talking to teachers and trying to get them on board. If you notice when we go through and work in legislative stuff, like the 911, I'll take that as an example, since we were involved in that to some degree. You don't only have to swap, one-on-one with the legislator. They want to hear from the DAs. They want to hear from the prosecuting attorneys. They want to hear from law enforcement and Rick Allen with the drug and narcotics, their views. And they can listen to me all day long. They want these people to sign off on bills like the 911 Good Samaritan law, which pretty much decriminalize some forms of illegal drugs. But they got the okay. Jeremy went out and talked to those people. Those are the kind of people we need to be focusing on in the next 6 months. Is our sheriffs and those types of people. And if you have any questions, we're going to start putting out. You can call James, myself, or Jeremy, anybody that's involved in any other group that's involved in this movement in Georgia, and we can help you write up letters or white paper, give you some talking points that you may want to go out and talk to people.
but it's just reaching out. It's talking everywhere you go, and this is not as hard as it was when I got involved in it 7 years ago. You should have seen the looks I got in Walmart when I brought marijuana up. Now, every single person on the radio and on the TV has been talking about this since December 31st, when legal marijuana sales started in Denver. It's been on our TV every single day. It's not hard to bring it up now. Talk to any and everybody that will listen. Come up with 2 or 3 talking points that you can get out in like 2 minutes. And I'm telling you, it'll start a conversation and it'll go from there. And that will help you to practice what you want to say to the people that we really need to get to.
Thank you, Sharon. To sum up, we need to educate our friends. We need to educate the legislators. We need to find some millionaires. But the key thing, people, is educate, educate, talk, educate, educate, talk. Those are my 2 questions for the panel. Now I'm going to open up to the floor. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask the panel, please stand up. Ma'am.
I'd just like you to take it a couple of steps further and give us the ideas of the talking points that you think are important if we're going to do the talk.
Okay, I guess it would be where you're coming from. For instance, Jeremy would talk more about how it's affecting college kids. If you're a patient, you're going to want to talk about how it would help you. If you're not a patient, you have someone in your family that could benefit. So it's so broad. There's so many different ways to tackle this. An individual consult would probably be better. You know, normal.org has a lot of talking points. MPP, Marijuana Policy Project. I tend to go where I know. I can talk about the money issue, and I know some about these things, but I focus in at the very beginning to start the conversation about the raid that happened to my daughter. And that's where I go, is I tell our personal story. So if you have a personal story, or you know someone that has been affected by the drug war, that's where I would go first. The stories get their hearts, the statistics get their head. And so if you can open up their heart, they'll listen to you about the rest of it. And so for you specifically, I mean, there's probably, you know, at least 15 different ways I could say to, you know, you could go about it. It just depends on what your issue is. Do you like money? Do you want to talk the money issue? Have you got that person that's been affected by it? Did you have a brother with ALS, you know, that has passed on? You know, those kind of stories get the door open. I don't know if that helped, but I'll be glad to talk to you afterwards.
Also, do your homework on your legislators. If you are speaking to a legislator who represents farm interests, pursue the agricultural aspects to him. Or, you know, a human health service chairwoman or something like that, you want to do the medical aspects. So just keep in mind who you're talking to. When you do speak to the legislators at the Capitol, you have about 2 or 3 minutes. So you want to be brief, concise, to the point, firm handshake, look them directly in the eyes, and tell them your story. And, you know, if the worst comes to worst is a lot of people are intimidated in talking to their legislators. They're just like you and I. They're no different. They were probably all getting drunk last night too, you know. So they're people, and be respectful, be concise, and be to the point.
My talking point is we're not criminals, and get them to try to justify. I want people who points treated different than mine, violence cannabis treated different than mine, and try to get them to justify it and think about it. You're not going to convince everybody, but I think every time you talk to somebody, you plant a seed in their mind, and hopefully they'll think about that. You know, you can't force it to happen. We just need to keep talking. There's a lot of people in this state, and I'm sure at some point we'll talk about some polling. But when 62% of likely voters in Georgia support decriminalization, it's the politicians who are out of step and out of touch with reality and what the people want. So they're still stuck in this decades of just say no, war on drugs. We need to let them know that the public doesn't think that way anymore. You know, in the 1980s, during the Reagan days, 85% of Americans were willing to give up their constitutional rights to fight the war on drugs. Okay, that's the frenzy that the war on drugs got the American people in. The federal government will tell us, you know, they're going to go door to door. They're going to, you know, stop this scourge, and so things have changed. So the momentum's on our side for sure, and we just need to keep pushing. And like I said, every one of you can play a role in that. I do things like write editorial letters. The AJC just asked me to do another 500 words about the medical bill that went through. So your local paper is looking for stories. I do a thing called, we want to start these protests. We want to go to courthouses. It takes a couple of people to go out and stand at your courthouse with some signs and a handout and just bring the attention to people going in and out of that courtroom, the lawyers and the defendants and the elected officials. They all need to know we're here and that we're involved. And it takes two people to go out and make a news story. If you're, you know, not everybody can go before the camera. So just let's keep doing what we're doing. Keep pushing.
Okay, thank you. Hold on, ma'am. I saw another question back here. But please ask me the question, and then I'll paraphrase it to the panel, and they'll respond from there.
Ask you? Okay. I just had a question about the bill that I guess recently failed to get passed. I noticed that it seemed like it had a lot of support, and then there was like an add-on that I guess required insurance companies to cover children with autism. And so I guess my question was that add-on put on there because I guess you could assume that the medical marijuana bill has so much support that would just be able to get passed through, or was that something to kind of like sabotage? Because it's like, it seemed like the House would be against the whole forcing insurance to cover children with autism. So I was just wondering, was they doing that to help or hurt, basically?
Okay, so basically the question is, with House Bill 885 that just got shot down, there was a referendum added to the bill, and you want to know if the referendum was to sabotage the bill or to help the bill?
To sabotage the bill or to help the provision as far as insurance companies covering autism?
Was it to sabotage the bill or help with the provisions for insurance companies?
Both. I think that what it is political poker. And Renee Unterman has been working on she is the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee of the Senate. And when the House bill came over, it didn't have that amendment on it. She's been working on autism for 5 years now, this bill. It's very unpopular for the same reasons you just said. They don't want to force insurance companies to have to cover this. That's a nightmare. And we pretty much knew when it came on there it was probably not going through. I don't know if she did it, well, the media's not here yet. I think she did it.
Say it.
No, don't get in trouble.
Okay, so we have two women having a cat fight is what's going on down there. That's what it amounts to. It was Unterman versus Sharon Cooper, the Senate versus the House. And Sharon Cooper was pushing this bill, and Renee Unterman was upset, I believe, that the medical marijuana bill had so much support, yet the autism kids did not. And I think that she felt like this is a bill that I don't want to go through unless mine does. And so instead of helping part of the children in Georgia, she hurt all of them. And that's my comment.
I think because we were so close to the bill, I think you used the word sabotage, and they call it holding it hostage. That is, you're trying to force a bill to pass that one house wants something, I want something, therefore I'm going to try to force you and hold it hostage. And I think it goes on a lot of bills. We just have to, we're still learning this process. Politically, it was, this is the way they play the game, and this is what happens. But quite frankly, we try to support the bill. We try to give advice on, this is House Bill 885. We try to give advice on what should have happened. They were reluctant. They didn't want to listen to us. Quite frankly, I'm glad the bill failed at this point, because it simply, all it allowed for was to allow these parents to smuggle cannabis oil into the state of Georgia and face federal prosecution. What a stupid concept. Creating another black market. So let's get down to what it really did. That's exactly what it did. It didn't allow anybody any legal access to anything, and it certainly wasn't a medical marijuana bill. So, we applaud Alan Peaks, but, he's stubborn, he's hard-headed, and they need to come around to the issue that we gotta have some cultivation, we gotta have some form of dispensary, we gotta have some form of immunity here, and we gotta let doctors make these decisions. Or better yet, let you make your own decision about what you're going to use for medicine.
Okay, right here in front of you, a question?
We got next year.
I have a couple of things to say. I am a MS patient. I suffer from severe back pain. I have brain damage. I came here to operate, and doctors want to put me on Oxycontin and Percocet, in order to function throughout my day. With that being said, when I take those things, I'm like, I can't do anything.
You high?
Not even. I'm
Blessed.
other words. Anyway, so that's my main concern with that is because I'm struggling so hard in getting, the approval for this drug to be used. My question is, have we reached out to any of the other normals in the states where the drug has been passed legally and gotten any ideas as to how we could, in a sense, get involved and do that? I also want to know, why aren't we in the legislator space? The Alan Peak and the ones who turned us down, why aren't we telling them what they did wrong? I'd be more than happy to go in there and show him my MRIs. These are things that I think if we relate to them as people, they'll see us as people. Those two girls, that were at the Capitol this whole time, it was very sad to see them on TV. Very sad. But obviously it wasn't sad enough. So I think, why don't we have more of a media presence? I emailed, the night before the election, I emailed a letter to every single senator, to the all the news stations. I even sent one here requesting, and the news station, told me that, or emailed me back and said, let me know. We'll see what we can do with this. I just want to know why we're not mad. Why are we not pissed off about this?
I can only speak for myself, okay? My experience,
Hold on 1 second, James, because I need to get this for the camera.
okay.
Basically, you would like to know, are we networking with other Peachtree Normal chapters in other states where laws have gotten passed? And why did there have more media coverage involved? And why aren't we mad?
We are mad.
No, we're not mad, because if we were pissed off, we would be up there telling them how pissed off we were.
No,
We have been.
We're mad enough that Sharon and I and others in this room have spent many hours down there. We spent many hours of our lives on the internet, emailing. We've done position papers. We've gotten it into their hands. We've done polling. We've gotten it into their hands.
You've done all the right stuff. What I'm saying is,
Well, let me answer your question about the media. We are getting media, and please plug in. The media has been very good to us on this issue. I've had reporters at my home doing interviews. I've met them on the interstate on the side of in parking lots to do interviews with these people. They're very interested in this subject. They know us. We are building rapport with them. There are things going on, you know, we do stuff that you'll probably never know about. But it takes more than these few people to do it. I'm not sure being mad is necessarily the way to go. I'm more determined and to make things happen. I'm mad. Mad was when the shotgun was put in my face, okay? Mad was when they put handcuffs on me. That's mad. I'm beyond that. We want to change these laws. And so I can only say that each one of you have a role to play. Again, it comes back to you. We can only do so much here. We try to be the face for the movement and the voice for the movement. Things are happening. I mean, I get, every week I get several phone calls from media, radio, television, college stations, college reporters, wanting to know what's the story and what's the scoop. So I think we've done pretty well with that. What they did, we're doing, I think, the right things. Like, as you said, we are lobbying, we are hooking up, they know who we are. If they want to quote on the cannabis issue, they know who to call. So please, we need more involvement, but maybe you in your hometown can contact your editor or your TV station or your, whatever the big news outlet is there, and contact them and put a face to the issue. Tell the story. If you want to do a rally in your town, let's do a rally and generate some news stories. We have to generate news here. So we're doing what we can. I hope everyone can pitch in and help us.
I'm sorry if it came across as though you're not doing enough. That's not what I meant.
No, how you can do it. Let me say this. The one thing that I see that we haven't gotten close to doing that is something that each and every one of you can go home and do. And that's write some op-eds. Call and find out your local newspaper what their op-ed deal is, whether it's 300 or 500 words, and start writing op-eds. We need to, we've got, like he said, the radio stations are calling us. I mean, for goodness sakes, I was in a car for an hour and a half driving down here from my house yesterday, and I got, I don't know, 6 or 7 phone calls. 2 of them were interviews from local news stations. They're calling us, we're calling them, we're putting out press releases. But back to the normal question. We have reached out to them. I started doing that before I started reaching out to my legislators. I've got every single person that I could possibly need, including Keith Stropp's number on my cell phone. We do talk to them. I talk to them almost weekly. Yes, the southern states have all come together. There's some representatives coming here today from other southern normals. That was my thing. I traveled around the United States with the help of my husband and his checkbook for the past 2 years. I've been to Denver 5 or 6 times. That's where they legalized it. That's what I want to know. I've been to Seattle. I've been to Boston, to the Boston Freedom Rally. I went out there as well, not just to get help from them, but to wake up America that the Bible Belt is in this now. And to try and get help from them. And I don't know if you recognize, if you've seen it or not, but I made High Times this week. Thank you, President. And he, at the very end, said, if you want to put some money somewhere, put it in Georgia. So hopefully we'll be getting some money coming in here pretty soon, and that is another thing that we're doing is going out to the Cannabis Cup. We're going to be working the normal table there. I'll be working the normal Women's Alliance table, and my daughter and I are going out for 10 solid days to go talk to some money people.
I was going to say fundraising.
Yes.
I'd also like to comment. Cannabis sells, so when you are reaching out to your local newspapers, we've had a lot of success. I think on Monday I'll have an article in Gainesville Times, so that'll make 6 articles in the last 2 months. Granted, that's with Good Samaritan policies and stuff like that, but all it took was me calling up there with a pitch, and a medical patient who's fighting for their rights will sell newspapers. So let that be encouragement. In terms of what SSDP does, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, we're connected with 240 chapters in 8 countries. So, you know, all of us carry national and international connections, and it's just a matter of utilizing them at the right time. So, yeah, in some aspects we do. Granted, you know, different states have different things going on, and different countries have different policies towards things, but the overall objective is the same for our organization.
Let me add something about, you know, I was joking about the millionaires, but I was serious about this. Movements need money, and I know everybody gives what they can give, and you need to help normal. You need to help the organizations that are trying to help you and help change these laws. And I know you give what you can give, but here's the other part: is there's people out there who all over this country who are making lots of money and who have experienced a little bit of freedom and legalization, etc. So hopefully, you know, we need to seek out people who can donate. Understand, you know, we've had a small budget to work with, and we're volunteers. You know, at some point we have to move up. We have to move up. We have to become professional about what we're doing. We have to pay our way, and we have to have, opportunities to reach out like every other campaign out there does. And you know what it takes. So, you know, keep that in mind. How can you raise funds? Can you do, I don't know. I'm not a fundraiser. I wish we do fundraisers. You know, I'd give you 50% of anything you can bring to the table. You know, I mean, we need cash.
Exactly. You know, why don't we all just pull out everything out of our attic and donate 50% of the proceeds of our garage sales this summer? You know,
I find that one millionaire, or that one organization, that one thing that, I mean, $10,000 is going to mean a lot with printing our literature, with getting our campaigns together, and to do things that we can't do right now. And, you know, if we could had 10 times the resources we had, we'd be 10 times closer to where we need to be. So think about that.
Anybody know Ted Turner?
I'm a friend who knows him.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for your question. Thank you for your passion, and we pray you find some relief for your condition soon. Do we have any more questions in the back there? Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay. James mentioned that we don't have our option to choose our own medicine, and I just wanted to know if he can expand on cannabis prohibition as a human rights issue.
Well, actually, you do have a right to choose it. People choose to do that every day. It's just that, you know, you're going to face the consequences. I think we certainly have the freedom. You have the freedom to make your own choices. Are you willing to take the risk doing that? That's the whole other issue. So, what was the other part of the question? I'm sorry?
Human rights.
Human rights. This is a human rights issue, is it not? It goes along with every other human right issue out there. Civil rights, however you want to deal with it. It deals with our civil liberties, our right to choose for ourselves what we want to do with our lives, and not have someone else. And the irony of what we saw in the legislature was they decriminalized heroin use. If somebody overdoses and you need to call 911, it seems to be decriminalized. They wanted to decriminalize shipping 55-gallon drums of 2% THC CBD oil across state lines against federal law, but I can't sit on my couch and smoke a 2% THC joint without facing prison time. So the irony is there. And what are these people thinking? If we can decriminalize it on these other aspects, certainly I should be able to sit on my couch. So human rights issues. Think about the prisons. Think about all the people that we have the freedom to drive here and participate in this today, and we have friends sitting in prison right now. So let's don't forget about that. We have people locked into, in the medical situation. They feel like they're in a prison too because they can't get the medicines they need. So think about those that we're working for here. So it is a human rights issue.
I was also going to comment on that. A good resource would be the ACLU did a report in 2012, and it goes by a county basis on the racial disparities in marijuana arrests. It's quite astonishing, some of the counties in Georgia. Yeah, so I think they'll be talking about that later. But
we have a panel talking about that today, actually. Chad Brock with the ACLU will be here. Yeah, there's a lot to be done. It is a human right, it's a civil right, it's just a, you know, I'm to the point where I'm starting to believe that the federal government and our legislators should be tried for war crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
We're all victims of prohibition, whether you've been arrested, whether you're sick, or whether you just want to use it for the heck of it, or you want to use it for preventative maintenance. I mean, you know, so we've just got to all stand up and do our part. And the more people that get involved. But let me say this. Every time I walked in, and it may be because I work for Normal, every time I walked in to have a consultation or a meeting with a senator or representative or one of their aides, they don't want to talk about medical. I think they already know medical's coming. They want to talk about how we're going to stop arresting everybody. And you can't hardly find a police officer in this state that isn't for it either. So just keep pushing the issue. And I believe we're going to have some, you know, what would you say, James? I imagine, well, we've already got a bill that's going to be introduced. If y'all haven't heard or seen it, it's SB 432. And that was brought a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago by Senator Kurt Thompson. Had a meeting with Dr. Uma, who will be speaking later today, and myself with him on Friday. Is it Friday? No, it was Thursday. I'm so confused this week. Anyway, yeah, we're probably going to have a really good, real medical bill. I feel like with Gary Black, we're going to probably end up with a little bit of support on hemp. So we'll have that, and we're going to have a decriminal legalization bill. I'm sure the legalization bill will probably be thrown in the trash can. But at least we're going to have those three things to work on next year. So when we say we need your help, this year it was very hard doing what James and I and the people that came down periodically to help us at the Capitol did. That was on one bill that we didn't even like, okay? Next year we're gonna have three that we're gonna want all three to pass. And so we're gonna need you next year. And you know, even if you can just come down to the Capitol a couple days or make it, you know, but the main work's gonna need to be done honestly from now until January. We need to prime the pump, so to speak, and be ready to hit it hard on January 3rd or 4th, whenever they come back into session.
Good. I didn't know all this.
Yeah,
Thank you, panel. Another question in the back.
Hey guys, I'm the chairman of the Liberty Party, and I'd like to thank y'all for what y'all do for us. I really appreciate it. We're talking about getting some publicity, press. Maybe I'm out of place in telling you guys this, but I need a lieutenant governor candidate. Okay? And one of the things that happens when you're a lieutenant governor candidate, you get to be in the debates, you get to be on TV, you get press coverage. Let me tell you the other thing. What do you think it costs to run an ad, seeing in your prime time TV at 8 o'clock night, now? If your candidate's $30. And guess what? They have to take your ad. And whatever you put in, they have to take it. So if you're for legalizing marijuana, you're the lieutenant governor candidate, you could run an ad, legalize marijuana, and talk about it. So if you guys are interested in talking about it, I would love to talk about it. I want a candidate who's bold, who wants to talk about doing what's right, about legalizing marijuana. Like, if you guys are proud of it, you want to get press, you want to go run TV ads cheap, I've done it. I've run thousands of them cheap for our candidates in past years. Not trying to push the philosophy. If you want to have a chance to get some press, I have a vehicle and I'm willing to work with you and help you. So, anybody have to please talk.
Is anyone interested in running for lieutenant governor? All these awesome activists.
I see a few out there that may be able to do that. Yeah, but seriously, that is an awesome opportunity. If anybody is into politics at all, I mean, of course, just having that open opportunity, like you said, to get the word out there. It's not like we got to win, but let me say something. With the poll we got this year, be careful. You may win.
Well, let me just say something about the Libertarian Party. You know, they've been around for a long time, and they support us. They support the liberty issues and freedom in this country. They run candidates in Georgia every year. They have ballot access issues that they have to keep candidates on the ballot. This is a great opportunity for the cannabis movement. I think even the agriculture commissioner's position would be open if you want to run on a hemp platform. This is simply to educate people and to get that the earned media she was talking about, to be able to do the interviews and the WSB shows and the debates, etc. Gary Black, we've met with the agriculture commissioner. I think he's unopposed, so he would be a friendly thing to do. I think Gary Black would support hemp, industrial hemp in this state for the farmers. I think that's an issue he would certainly support. So thanks to the Libertarian Party and the principles that they stand for, and thank you, Doug, for what all you do.
Yeah, thanks, Doug, for being here and sponsoring that.
Thank you, Doug, and thank you to the Libertarian Party of Georgia for coming out and supporting Peachtree Normal. We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. I see a hand in the back, sir.
I'd like to thank Sharon for speaking. I'm from Colorado. One of the things we did in Colorado was we kept it in conversation from 1992 until 2012, and we finally did it. And it was constantly talking about it. Going to the legislators, doing exactly what she said. You have to get up there and get out and do it. Sharon, I've worked with you in Colorado. You never asked for money. I know where the money is. Come talk to me.
Thank you, sir.
Sharon, you missed one conversation. By the way, that was a long conversation, was it not? To move that legislation. No,
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years. It's a long conversation. So, let's be patient but persistent with what we're doing here. It's not going to happen overnight, so we'll just keep pushing.
Thanks for that that look at it. 10 years it took. Wow. Yeah, we've got to stay persistent. But thank you to Colorado, by the way, because y'all have really started the ball rolling all over this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Colorado. Thank you for joining us today, sir. I saw another hand in the back over here.
Yes, there's been a lot of talk about money, and especially with the recent news that's been coming out of Colorado. I've been wondering what's been done to organize like the business community and the entrepreneurial community that we would like to see legalization in Georgia and start opening businesses here.
We're looking for organizers and coordinators on that particular project, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the question was
organizing the entrepreneurial community in Georgia.
What are we doing to organize businesses in the entrepreneurial businesses in Georgia?
Well, like James said, we need help with that. We need people to step up and take that on. That's not honestly something I can put on my plate. Keep in mind that all of us up here are either students full-time or we work full-time. I own a business as well. It's not doing real great right now because I've been busy. But that's okay, we'll build it back up. So yeah, we need somebody to actually step up and do that. We need fundraisers, we need people to be on our advisory board with Normal. We're gonna start an advisory board right now, we just have the board. But we'd like to get people, in charge of doing that kind of stuff. I'm trying to split up the state right now and find 4 leaders for the veterans to come up. I need, to pull in the veterans on the medical issue and on the PTSD. We need to be fighting hard for that. So each project within itself needs a leader. And that's what we're looking for. Hopefully today some leaders will come out of this house right here, this conference. And it can be as little time as you have to spend on it or as much as you want to. But be careful because it becomes addictive. Unlike marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just wanted to answer his question as well. My name is Madai. I know I'm
Hey, Madai.
Nice to see you. And I just wanted to let him know that I'm actually here on behalf of the Cannabis Career Institute. They're out of California, and we help pioneers and entrepreneurs in the business industry so that you can learn what it is you need to know about the medical cannabis and hemp industry so that you can be successful and complying with the laws of whatever state it is you choose to have your businesses. So I'm here, and if you have questions, anything, you can come and see me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, do we have any more questions for the panel? Questions? Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you to the panel, James Bell of Georgia Care, Jeremy Sharp of SSDP, University of North Georgia, and Sharon Ravert, Mama Wana of Peachtree Normal. Big round of applause for the panel, please. Once again, my name is Winston Chiefs. I'm the Arts and Entertainment Liaison for Peachtree Normal. I've been an activist, an unintentional activist for the past 2 years.